For a long moment, no one says a word. Even the lieutenant is transfixed. Before you do, it would be pertinent to ask other questions. Gather more info on this boat of hers. Before you do, it might be pertinent to ask a few more questions. Learn whatever you can about this boat of hers. Forget about that. What was that about the age of capital only beginning? You need to talk politics with this lady. All right, this is how we're going to do it. Diplomacy or blackmail? Blackmail is quick and efficient, leaves less loose ends. All right, here we go. This is an illegal tribunal. Crano would never sanction this. Who's the commanding officer? Take your pick. Convince Titus he's being manipulated? Bad idea. Bringing her up will do no good. You should know by now. Titus will never falter. That's why you're perfect for the job. No one's got a better nose for failure than you, Harry. Oh, that's right. Kuno is a killer entrepreneur and a visionary. He doesn't like this beggaroo shit. She hasn't spoken to anyone for a while. Even her sentences feel rusty. Oops, you really didn't get the joke there. What was so funny about that? She means clairvoyance. Your statements are too vague to comment on. The clash of ideas and atrocities are as far from her world as fairies and wizards. This must be it. Beyond this door lies the beating heart of radical communism in Martinez. The acrid smell of failure. A change in the genetic makeup wouldn't hurt. Ginger degenerate. A change in the socio-economic circumstances wouldn't hurt. Years, months, weeks. Well, that was easy, but he knows it wouldn't make much of a difference. The radio computer wizards are invested with magical economic powers. It's not a compliment. Of course, it's not actually ultrasonic. That's just an illusion produced by good branding. Still, the force you've unleashed really is tremendous. You'll be leading this conversation, so wherever you take it, they'll be glad to follow. These two are full of interesting stories and rumors about Nielsen, Mazov, and their revolutionary exploits. Half an hour passes, and the conversation gradually wends its way to some unexpected places. They're impressed that you dove right into the most advanced parts of the theory. Half an hour evaporates, and the conversation is still wending its way toward new and unexpected places. The evening is winding down. In other words, you'll forfeit their respect if you back out now. The question you mean to ask is both very complicated and incredibly simple. All right, here we go. We're devoting all your available brain cells to coming up with a question about communism. Scratch that. To coming up with the question about communism. The alpha and omega of communism questions. And that question is, before long, a modest tower begins to rise from the pile of matchboxes. There, in the middle of the floor, the winding spire quivers with an improbable energy. For a long moment, no one says a word. You're all three transfixed, maybe in another life, but not this one. Face it, this is the question that's been simmering inside you all along. Sure, you spent some time getting lost in your theoretical labyrinths, but this has been the beast at the center this whole time. It's too late. You've already opened your mouth to speak. That's what makes it so beautiful. The irony is unbeatable. No, it was an artifact of your pre-ideological consciousness. The higher the tower goes, the quieter the room seems to become. Aside from the occasional comment, the three of you are completely absorbed by the task. It's almost exactly as Nielsen's sketch imagined. A physical manifestation of the dialectical spiral of history. Yes, it's probably time for you to take your leave as well. Whatever it is, one thing's perfectly clear. These young students have a much deeper understanding of communism than you do. You could learn a thing or two from them. If you can convince them, you're one of them. One thing is perfectly clear. These young students have a much deeper understanding of communism than you do. You could learn a thing or two from them. If you can convince them, you're one of them. Whatever this turnip business is about, one thing is perfectly clear. These young students have a much deeper understanding of communism than you do. You could learn a thing or two from them. If you can convince them, you're one of them. Now you're just psyching yourself out. You've read plenty of books. Maybe try again once you've got your wits about you. Maybe now's a good time to call it an evening. Why don't you find a good book, clear your mind, and come back when you're refreshed? Have you considered reading a book? Those tend to have lots of words in them. What are you worried about? You've read plenty of books. Why don't you take a little pause, come back once your mind's clear? You're intimidated by all the books these kids have read, aren't you? Maybe a trip to the bookstore would do you some good. What is it? Are you scared because you can't remember a single book you've read? What is it? Are you scared because you can't remember a single book you've read? You're intimidated by all the books these kids have read, aren't you? Maybe a trip to the bookstore would do you some good. What are you worried about? You've read plenty of books. Why don't you take a little pause, come back once your mind's clear? You've been quite studious these past few days. You should be able to handle whatever they want to throw your way. Of course, if you're nervous, it wouldn't hurt to read another book or two. Of course, it wouldn't kill you to crack open a book every once in a while. The smile he gives you is straight off a campaign poster. The kind of smile focus group tested to appeal to the most gullible swathe of the electorate. But that didn't tell you anything about Aranye, except that candidate members never become full members, do they? A busy bee. What an odd choice of words. He's alluding to the decade-long war of independence while deftly brushing aside the complex causes behind the conflict. Darlings, that can't be an official designation. There seems to be plenty of room for proxy wars waged by multinational corporations, though. Customs, like blatant systematic corruption. Somehow the man thinks of this as a compliment, rather than an expression of patronizing condescension. He's speaking figuratively. He means he's not in Martinez in his official capacity. In other words, the committee only knows what it wants to know. No euphemisms. This is what you came here for. How about some small talk before you break the news? You are the big communism builder now. It's you or no one. The price of idealism, unrestrained by humanism. Never again. He doesn't actually reach for his gun. They're either a gateway drug or a booster pack to get you deeper into free market ideology. Yegman, that's either a safe breaker or someone who works almost exclusively with egg yolks. Classic case of Mullen mania, a well-documented condition. Blank, conveying nothing. He's deflecting. He's young with a sharp memory. He hasn't had time to drown it in booze and chemicals. That's definitely not his real name. Martin Martinez, good local name. Let's go with that. Maybe there's a reason for that. The big C. The big C. That can only mean one thing. Communism. Even if it isn't. No one told you. Yes, climbing it would be too expensive. The animations your body needs to make interacting with the ladder are beyond your capabilities at this moment in your career. He did. He totally said something about the apparatus. God damn it. As in, traffic police. Hands on the, don't listen to your glands right now. Listen to me. The lady asked if you're the backup. Does she not believe you two are actually police officers? Does she not believe you're actually a police officer? It's not a code, just disjointed words. You'll have to go for the gun sooner or later. Perhaps you can learn crucial facts before you do. He means that the boys got shot by the communists. The boys were bourgeois. Wait, is he saying that we should just bypass the excesses of the revolution? No, I mean, come on, you need the money. If it's not a thing, he can give you some. Pick your brain. If anything, this was rather one-sided. He did the talking. Whatever. It's his manner of speaking. He reminds you of a lecturer. Mark my words. All of this somehow ties into the history of Occidental financial markets. Man, he's good at speaking. People must love him. Talking is always good. Go see what she has to say. The place does not look like a successful tourist trap, does it? These three things are very important to the working class mind. Some penetrating sarcasm from your colleague there. Such criminal behavior would not happen in more developed countries. Certainly there are good things to be said about dependents. Desert pygmy shamans. That sounds like a rather questionable way to describe a group of people. Good luck persuading her. Some people can rationalize anything. What in God's name is she talking about? Technically, that's what crime bros would do. Yes, commit crimes. She's looking for one. But there simply aren't any good arguments for being an asshole. Super silent. Almost inaudibly so. You look like one. There was never any other way this could have gone. She's just too far gone into her own mind. Tell her the truth. It's out of her hands. Basement. Sounds like it's technically still on site. Short and terse. There you have it. Whatever she's using them for, they're hers. Wait. No. You can't say things like that when the lieutenant is present. Say it's a joke. Hold on. If it's called an off-site copy, then why is it still on site? What she means is that she's ready to turn a blind eye if the need arises. You have her full, undivided attention. How come the lieutenant isn't sure? Is this confidential information, suggesting those who fight against it are not part of humanity? You have no idea what the fuck he's talking about. Is he just trying to throw you off your game? He's a born preacher. Enjoy the rhetorical flourishes, but remain vigilant. Don't let him get too close. He's crazy. Giving away all of your possessions, sacrificing a limb to appease an angry god, trying to live on air and light alone, as though you were some kind of plant. That's right. You've got to watch your own back. Seems it's already too late. Have fun on the cookie train. Oops. That sounds a bit like substitution behavior, no? You know a thing or two about that. Via Eta is... Grandma? Hold on. Stop it right there. Pussy? What's with this? He doesn't seem entirely convinced, though. Coward. You should always try to guess. He's afraid you've forgotten suddenly. Perhaps you could dedicate your life to cleaning it up. But you're a cop. You must concern yourself with different messes. Even so, it's pretty to think, yes, fortune left you too, leaving only pharmaceuticals and a subpar service-based industry. This is more important than you. That's the blood of industry you see before you. The runoff from Coal City, further down the coast. No, for a second, think about something other than yourself. Think about the blood of industry here before you. The runoff from Coal City, further down the coast. Exactly. The blood of industry, the runoff from Coal City, further down the coast. Wait. Take a longer look at yourself and how you're reflected in that slick chemical rainbow. What do you see? The engines of fortune once roared here. Great wealth poured into Revachol, the Delta, as did smoke, waste, sickness, life. The engines stopped. The West Revacholian industrial base was dismantled after the war. Now, extinguished coke furnaces dot the landscape, a landscape despoiled by industry. Right. Here's some advice that's good for business and life. Never fight a losing battle. I'm not even going to argue with you. Look at him. It's not going to be anything useful anyway. Don't fight it. Better to go with the flow. Telling the gardener you know her name might throw her off. Perhaps something to consider later. He probably doesn't know anything anyway. Who in their right mind would tell him? He respects that word. That's obvious. The only way to find it seems to be working with him. He might even be holding your gun hostage. Who knows? Only one thing is certain. If you work with him, you're going to get it back. And working with him might be the only way to do it. Yes, but it's because his words usually sets things in motion. This translates into, haha, you guys are so corrupt. I guess word has already reached him. No matter, no harm done. It might be a good idea to hide your confusion. I mean, see what his game is first. I guess word has already reached him. No matter, no harm done. It might be a good idea to hide your confusion. I mean, see what his game is first. He doesn't really seem to know any more about it. It might be a good idea to hide your confusion. See what his game is first. He wants you to do more things for him before. Is he absolutely sure the tenants won't be thrown out in the street? He's saying as little as possible, as vaguely as he can, deliberately omitting things. A man of the left. So you have to be a social democrat. Actually, no, it's not. He's not. Whatever you do, don't ask him about the gun first. You don't want him thinking you're scared. Smooth talking. Maybe that's the way to go about opening the container. You should at least try convincing it. Yes, but you'll owe him for it. He's hiding his real reaction beneath courtesy. He refuses to discuss it further. It's probably just a small nuisance to him. That's all you're going to get out of him, it appears. It's business etiquette to take compliments even if they aren't sincere. Like this one. You cannot but notice the prospect of you telling Joyce about your conversations is actually pleasing Everard. Yes, he really doesn't seem to mind. Reminds you of that Joyce woman, doesn't he? Can't get rich by giving out free money. Actually, at the level this guy is, it takes several generations to do that. But, alright, this is the only question that matters. Fail to come up with an interesting hook, and he's out. The obvious answer is to be illustrative. However, he would be much more interested in art that directly tackles social issues. And, as it's always been, it's impossible to open a container with rhetoric. Maybe you're losing your mind. Whoa, watch it. Why are you even trying to open a door with rhetoric? Despite the dirt that surrounds and trails you, a beacon of light emerges from deep within you. No one needs you. Go away. You've got to dance with the one that brought you, detective. Try again. Who understands anything you do? Always has to be the skeptic, this man. This is not going very well, is it? Word-wise. But it doesn't. This is merely a sarcastic response. Sounds like she really doesn't know how to be a female ally. That doesn't really excuse it, does it? Some of those nice people have big bucks to spend on novelty items. This was no mere act of vandalism. This was defenestration. Where? In hell. Oh yes, she'll come around now. I made her love you again, Harry. She's about to say something. Here it comes. She's starting to love him again. I don't understand. It was, she herself said, you need to recite it to her. For effect. All of it. No summaries. It wouldn't be a cheap rental this time. You're a better man now. With a rank in a powerful armed organization. A cheap rental with mold on the walls and the tap dripping. Nothing will. I've been poisoned by newspaper and news. All I can do is scream at them and think of her. Secretly. You told her you loved her. She has to feel something. You're a better man now. More level-headed. More normal. The star has gone out. She cannot rekindle it. You cannot rekindle it. There is nothing within or below matter. Just the dull no of a mind made up. Just like 4 billion others. I am so sorry. Hear that? That's the sound of meaninglessness. Meaning, ideas, theory, all that has evaporated. Now there is only dry silence, the sound of a mind made up, just like 4 billion others. I am so sorry. like she's heard it before, 1,000,000 times. But you can't just come out and ask him. You should make your introduction first. Pay homage. This is a man of stature. Yes, of course. Now we're on the right track. It smells like. Now this place seems promising from an ideological angle. An important place. One of the last bastions of the left in Martinez. Perhaps here you'll find the man who'll help you get organized. Fine. Go with whatever you want. You have multiple solid options. But the lieutenant isn't going to shit test you. You've got multiple valid options here. There's another way we can go with this. Frame control. Flip the situation on its head. Make them play by your rules. What was that? That's not how words are used. Say it again. Giggles, giggles. Classic shit test. That was your chance to just own it. It was a subpar delivery, not a lack of technique that failed you there. You could have still saved it, had you not failed her shit test. No, you don't work for the union. The union works for you by supplying you with cash. That's teen speak for no discounts. She says, fuck with Fritta, like it's a saying, or she's quoting someone. Maybe you could ask her about this later. And so, fun. By old-fashioned, he means very right-wing. He likely believes that when someone has radical ideas, he should still rather present himself as a self-interested moderate, not as a missionary of a minority ideology. It might come in handy to present ideas as a part of reality, the only reality that exists, instead of some abstract true form. On the other hand, he's not lying when performing this sleight of hand. He's a self-interested moderate. But certainly you have to form an opinion on everything and then tell it to everyone. This seditious talk sounds like communism. Just so we're on the same page, communism is basically wanting to kill the rich people or deporting them to a labor camp in Southeast Grad. But don't say that out loud if you're a communist. You're hazy on the notion of a scab. Smells like politics, though. Maybe it's got something to do with the flask he reaches for from time to time. Come on. He's just trying to keep the peace. It's implied he finds it unlikely that you will succeed in this. He means he's not going to tell you cause he doesn't know. But he will shoot his mouth off with you now that you're working for Everard. He's a chatty guy. Wants to talk about the strike too. Just can't break the command structure and tell you now. You've been in there, he means. Talked to the boss man too, probably. This man has political theory, and it has not failed him today. This was great. You feel mentally reinvigorated. He says it matter-of-factly, like it's no big deal. Feels like he's hinting at something. But you're too hungover or dumb to understand right now. Now's your chance. Remember, communists are notoriously skittish, so it's best to insinuate your way in. Okay, maybe it's time to abandon the subtle approach. Okay, so maybe he's not exactly a communist, but there's definitely some communistic residue about him. All right, so if he isn't personally a communist, he's definitely hanging out with them. Maybe it's not taught in any of your so-called universities, but there's definitely something going on here. No doubt he's communist enough to call himself such, but he won't. Does this remind you of someone? The guy down there? No, there's a peaceful solution. You could internalize Measurehead's race theory. He would take you as one of his own. There may be a peaceful solution to this. You could internalize Measurehead's race theory. He would take you as one of his own. The down with racism thing. That's basic race theory. This is way above that. Way. Well, not as such. What you do with a mastery of advanced race theory is up to you. You could reject the findings, sure, or accept them and become an advanced racist. The best idea. There's a but. Wait, didn't Ilmaran Desert Pygmies invent alcohol and get pillaged just a short while ago? Wouldn't he be one for ethnostates? Was there an out of this for you with success? Or was the rhetoric game rigged? I can't tell. You could internalize Measurehead's race theory. It would enrich you rhetorically. Silence is the answer. There's something off here, but he won't say what. Odd, out-of-place colonial reference there, Mr. Scab Leader. His manner of speaking is wooden, the tone of voice bland and uninspired, almost as if compiling replies from a set of learned phrases. He clearly does not think poking the hornet's nest is a wise plan anymore. I'm going to interpret that as a yes. There's a tribunal, and it won't be long until it's ready. Can you not detect that inimitable whiff of dissatisfaction and restlessness, that sense that the world is in need of dramatic, even violent reordering? Can you smell it now? Nonsense. The reek of communism is unmistakable, and it's coming from that railing over there, undoubtedly. And the scent is coming from that railing over there. Yes, now's your chance to establish contact. There it is again, that spectral smell haunting this industrial harbor. And it smells like, there, do you smell that? The lieutenant lacks your highly developed politico-olfactory cortex. The reek of communism is undeniable, and it's coming from that railing right there. What the lieutenant thinks is irrelevant. Your politico-olfactory cortex is lighting up like a holiday display. Look, it's pointing you right to that railing over there. Years of turmoil, of hopes and dreams, ground beneath the inexorable tides of capital. She's trying to get out of a direct lie with semantic tricks. She personally didn't put the padlock on the door. She's less prone to blurting out "crab man" than the others. Indeed, she merely tried to omit the truth instead. An entire litany spews forth to the cops. This is a below-feeble attempt at avoidance. Basically, he is attempting to weaponize idiocy, not human, as in a ghost. Do you know what he means? A pincer maneuver. Why not? Let's go with that. You could probably justify taking 70%. The risks are greater for you as a police officer. All this eloquence, it's in service of something. She's afraid, a half-hearted sell of something which does not seem worth buying. That means they haven't set up a single one yet. Good. This calls for an opinion. You're an expert in those. If you don't know what the founding party is, there might be a way to mask it with minor demagoguery. The young man drops his oversized head in shame. He is truly sorry he couldn't come up with a profitable market strategy. What are you, a petulant child? He expects you to apologize. You definitely could have handled that better. The way he says it, the force in false core, is invested with 20 kilotons of disgust. It does feel good to say it. Maybe the speed freaks are onto something. What a strange choice of words. This speed freak does not quite understand the sudden escalation of emotion in that argument, but he agrees nonetheless. He looks like a well-thought-out individual. The synchronization might be worth it in the long run. He's being uncharacteristically polite. He means they don't make any pinewood antennas because it's such an obviously bad idea, you see. How else are you going to build something? It's always inconvenient to build things, and citizens inevitably have disagreements over such construction projects. But there's no other way. He won't say it outright, but he's suggesting forgery. He is not altogether comfortable with your contribution to progress in this instance. It's a little joke the lieutenant made. He knows what you meant. It calls out to you. This is the spirit of Revachol. Good God, this is some retrograde stuff. When was this shit written? And on that note, you feel like you've gotten the general idea of inframaterialism, enough to carry on a basic conversation at least. But if you'd like to go even deeper into some of the more speculative aspects of the theory, You could always read further. This should be more than enough for a stimulating discussion. That said, if you're still yearning for more, in other words, this guide is the only source you're likely to find. By now, the lieutenant has accepted your unusual methods. So, all of it, basically. Just a moment. Those names seem awfully familiar. Good thing your rent-paying days are behind you. It's true. The rentiers have been bleeding you dry. You really ought to find your own place one of these days. But they appear pleasantly vague. Cause of failure. Rent too high. A symbol of soldier of the apocalypse style conduct in a civil environment. Which is to say, not very good. It's capitalism, isn't it? Devious use of swish there. It's a font literally designed to win legal agreements by way of being almost unreadable through flamboyance. Those aren't your only options. You could also show your workers how much you appreciate them by investing some of that wealth in them. After all, they're the ones producing wealth for the suzerain. Nonsense. Remember what the lieutenant said? If points are arbitrary, who cares about winning? You should reject their system and just play how you want. But not good enough, the lieutenant seems to be saying. You begin to suspect there may be a political agenda to this so-called family game. Only one way to find out. It's not. It's for pansies. The man from Lenval is way more awesome. Yes, the Wirral setting is known for its complicated system of political alignments. But if you're not into that, you can just hack your way through dungeons in search of loot. That's what most people do. Save the economy. That sounds off. Local conditions, in this case, referring to incompetence, graft, and violence. Whose bones and whose ashes exactly? You don't think the coalition pacified Revachol with bonbons, do you? She's got you there. That's sarcasm. She's clearly Messenian. And by that, we mean the ones with the guns and the warships. There's something in the way she refers to herself, always with the first person plural. A deliberate blurring of the boundary between herself and the institution she represents. The lieutenant is afraid you're going to say something too outre. Don't listen to them. Everyone loves a good political angle. Something about her son going to Vredefort on an aerostatic to see some psychologists. Or maybe the psychologists are saying it's normal to have feelings for strangers. Foreign languages were never your strong suit. You can't make out a word of this gibberish. He means that it's becoming an unfortunate fixture in your vocabulary. And by that they mean the ones with the guns and the warships. You can't make out a word of this gibberish. Something about her son going to Vredefort on an aerostatic to see some psychologists. Or maybe it's the psychologists saying it's normal to have feelings for strangers. Foreign languages were never your strong suit. Only that's madness. Not that he ever did in life either. You're pretty sure you can live in a tree elsewhere too. But he wouldn't believe it anyway. No hassle. There's a little of a hassle here, it appears. A moral hassle. Because you need to solve the biggest case in the history of criminal sciences. A bold move. Let's see if it pays off. After all this mess, the broken seals, lying to you? Come on. No. He wasn't talking about an abstract crowd. It was that crowd. Start with a little compliment, then work your way up from there. This is about business. Remember, no need to dress this one up. Just tell him what you want. He's not ruling her out. Apricot suzerainty calls to mind an era when the Seaguy archipelago was colonized by Revachol. It's a bit of a slur, in other words. Apricot suzerainty calls to mind an era when the Seaguy archipelago was colonized by Revachol. It's a bit of a slur, in other words. Underpaying. But you paid the highest possible price. Underpaying. You paid according to the market. Not too much. Not too little. You had to pay her so little. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made any profit. And if you don't make a profit, you don't have money to invest. Underpaying. But you paid the highest possible price. Underpaying. You paid according to the market. Not too much, not too little. You had to pay her so little. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made any profit. And if you don't make a profit, you don't have money to invest. Underpaying. You paid according to the market. Not too much, not too little. Underpaying. But you paid the highest possible price. Underpaying. But you paid the highest possible price. Underpaying. You paid according to the market. Not too much, not too little. You had to pay her so little. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made any profit. And if you don't make a profit, you don't have money to invest. Underpaying. But you paid the highest possible price. Underpaying. You paid according to the market. Not too much, not too little. You had to pay her so little. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made any profit. And if you don't make a profit, you don't have money to invest. Happy isn't the word. You can be satisfied with a job well done, but the current mood doesn't invite any analogues to joy. You had to pay her so little. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made any profit. And if you don't make a profit, you don't have money to invest. Those epithets are familiar somehow. The great adversary, the great unrest, no elaboration. In all likelihood, it's a world that's only ever existed in her mind. Apples is exactly the kind of thing you'd say if you had something to hide. Race is a simplistic means of social classification based on easily observed attributes, hunches, and pseudoscience. He's given you the runaround. Let's be honest, you were bested. Koiko may be another derogative. For a person from Grad, you think. What he means is, fixation on the Revacholian nation makes it harder for Revachol to actually attain self-determination. Isn't saying nothing saying something? Or did I just blow your mind? Nope, nothing. You're sure it's okay. You wriggled your way out of a tight one there. Didn't tell him to fuck off or join his cause. Well done. Damn, you're not gonna get more out of him on this. He's put up the wall of racism. Relax. You've got all you can get here. He probably doesn't even know what he's hauling, even if it is something unsavory. So he'd remain unaccountable. Perhaps it's good to agree to get him talking. And, of course, what social sensibilities you're bringing to the table. Remain sensitive. People are watching. Relax. He's merely joking. Wait, this guy says they're friends, then acquaintances, and he's okay with others ratting her out? Bah, emotional rhetoric. He knew something and he didn't share it with you. That's a fact. The correct grammar is Tommy, Lahom. He doesn't blame them, but he's not on their side. That's for sure. L'origine du disco. Such a powerful conceit. And this is what we're going to do with it? The commitment of an act of gross public indecency? Not so fast. Who is she in all this? Ask her who she is. She owes you an answer. It takes time for the apes to change and work. Perhaps what happened here was part of that time and part of that work. She's one of them. Of course. Now's your chance. Ask her who she is. She won't get out this time. The lieutenant is downplaying his contribution. He got up before sunrise to get this done, and now he's quite pleased with himself for taking care of the gruesome business so efficiently. By not ideal, he means he can't believe he let you try that trick and would be angry if he didn't feel the outcome was partly his responsibility. He's not saying much on the matter, because he thinks you could have gotten more out of Everard. By not ideal, he means he can't believe he let you try that trick and would be angry if he didn't feel the outcome was partly his responsibility. If Kim is emphasizing something this much, it really must be important. If Kim is emphasizing something this much, it really must be important and dangerous. Very dangerous. Or if they think you do, those others say they continue the humanist project set forth by Dolores Day, not in Revachol West, among the ruins. Whatever you do, Don't say the first thing. Is it though? Nothing? You're still in for a bumpy ride here. Try not to mess it up. He just doesn't like flimsy connections, especially of this kind. Neither was an actual question. Here we go. Zoom in on the mixed races part. It's the best one. Wait a second. Are you sure you want to go there? Even if you succeed, you're going to fail. Are you sure about that? Oh boy, we're really doing this. Now you're thinking sensibly. Okay. Feels like this is going to be a discussion now. Okay. You think there's a way out of this? His serious, business-like tone doesn't waver for a second. The sarcasm is so finely tuned, it actually comes off like worry. Except perhaps people in Ozon. No, it's shit. The right words just don't come to him. He tries, but they don't. Except all the war crimes the people in those vestments perpetrated. But what's a few atrocities here and there if you look cool doing it? So it's political. You're being neglected because of political reasons. Just say you lost your gun. Anything else would only make the situation worse here. Wait, before you say anything stupid, think it through. He's trying to keep you from further embarrassing yourself in front of your colleagues. You're going to be looking at a straitjacket if you tell everyone you lost your memory. Be smart about this. Ask if he's there alone. Be smart about this. Ask if he's there alone. Just say you lost your gun. Anything else would only make the situation worse here. You're blowing it. This exact conversation has happened before. Establishing authority before this young girl seems to have been important to you in the past. Don't go there again. I remember this. You were screaming things like, "My brains are all over the wall," painting them red. I won't be seeing it, 'cause these are my brains. I can't see without my brains. Very nice visuals there. God, what is happening in your head? Whatever this empathy failure tells you, don't take the quest. It's not wonderful, it's ugly. Alpha male officers who are proud of their numbers often do. It's meant and means no. He liked the idea. Poor choice of words. Lieutenant Kitsuragi obviously doesn't want to be a Beano-clad. She deliberately avoided naming the mob she worked for. You might be able to find this out later. She's beginning to suspect you've broken into her lorry now. She's truly desperate. She thinks she has no other options. You need to give her options. You should know the words to say. You've been here yourself. So why is it not coming to you? Because you think suicide might be a good course of action for you too. Her finger squeezes the trigger now. Because you've been going around pointing a gun at yourself, trying to answer the same question in vain. Her finger squeezes the trigger now. Because you've misread the situation from the beginning. And now her finger squeezes the trigger. No, wait. Finally, it comes to you. A way to connect with her, so she thinks of you as hunters, not cops, and of herself merely as prey, a strong moral compass. She still wants the opportunity to make a case for herself, as opposed to the other knives she's finding there now. Hardy for one. That's her admitting the bullet was an emergency exit. Wait, one thing, possibly small, but she said you rolled into town. Was that you singular or plural? She might know something. This is how you talk her out of it. It's the only scenario in which she lives. You know, she likes telling you about the machine. Keep her talking. Look for an opportunity to break loose. The lieutenant does not seem to share your enthusiasm. The lieutenant does not seem to share your enthusiasm. It's not a quib. The situation is dangerous. He just can't be sure. Maybe it will yield something useful. He doesn't actually believe it's wonderful. He doesn't actually believe it's wonderful. This hat is so soft, so warm. It wraps around your head, and your mind tingles with all manner of socio-economic theory. Kraz Mazov would have worn this, Yushenka. Mazov knew where to cook those thoughts. That's why it bears a Mazovian logo. Glory to the revolution, comrade. Whether you like it or not, wearing this hat has made you more communist. Let's hope no one saw you wearing that outrageously communist hat. No. We've gotten into every door thus far. That's what we do. We open doors. We're cops. That's our perk. Even Everard knew that's a part of our MO. No. We've absolutely gotten into everywhere thus far. That's what we do. We open doors and go through them. We're cops. That's our perk. She means her kids. You should say something. Anything. Maybe the tequila sunset thing. See? She doesn't want to disagree. Good sign. Keep it at that. How do you respond to a pithy no like that? He's just not into pilot caps, it seems. No what? Technically speaking, that would be a... Actually, beer and cider have loads of water in them. He replies with such understanding, it's as if the burnt-out ruins of the past were an occupational hazard. Athlete's foot for cops. Perhaps socialism, seeing that he's working for the union. But isn't he a traditionalist? Why does he keep talking about future? Apparently, he has never formed an opinion on the matter, and isn't going to do so on the fly either. This is the extent of the boy's knowledge. The train, speed train, amphetamine express. Wow. What? There's no way to turn this around, I'm afraid. He won't be your knock, but he won't be thrilled about this either. The rest is for him. To compensate for the pain of being separated from his radiant spinners. You have absolutely no idea what aphotic baths are. But the tattoos on the man are not that. Did he just do a runner? He can't get away that easily. Try calling out to him. He seems like an experimental man. And what sonic experience is more experimental than the Door Gunner Megamix? Certainly it'd give you a discount if he knew you'd play that. He doesn't elaborate on what that means. It's unlikely that he will. He doesn't elaborate on these wrong hands. It's unlikely that he ever will. It's like a carrot to the stick, sort of. She's making a valiant effort to come off as a nihilist, but she's really just an angry little commie. No wonder she was talking about the streets flowing red. That's what happened during the revolution. She means the opposite. She'd never admit to it anyway. She's not actually considering it. It's sarcasm. She's a professional negotiator. She should be open to some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement. There's a trace of irony in his voice. Mischief, even. This is a tactic. Ludicrous, even. It's meant. Don't tell her you've met Everard right away. There's time. Meaning, the information she has will raise the stakes in this game. A fleet. 3 shabby fishing boats is hardly a fleet. It's a law that keeps Revachol what it is. In limbo. You need to make this lady admit she's only riding around on this boat because she's rich. Why what? Stop thinking. Take her down. You have the guns and the ammo. Take this Claassen fiend down. Charge. You've got the guns and the ammo. You're not? Okay then. Just keep on admiring the boat then. Unburdened by envy. Have it your way. He's trying to signal something. He wants you to play up your condition. Yup, that's the stuff. An opening gambit, surely. There was a touch of discomfort there. She wants to merely represent. There it is. She owns up to it. She's being sarcastic. Don't take her performance literally. It's implied. She's open to discussing this matter with you at a later occasion. Her tone makes clear that you've violated some kind of rich person taboo. Wouldn't be the first time. It's the expression she objects to. She picked a strange hill to die on. Strike should have cornered her. Maybe it would have yielded something. Feels like there's a good response here, but you're not coming up with one. Carry on. The situation at the gates is a powder keg. She says she wants to avert catastrophe, but that's where she draws the line. I call bullshit. She phrases it as if it's a pity. She also phrases it as a transition out of you waving your gun around. She is more defensive about it than usual. A constrictor knot of contrary motives. Greed, fear. There may be a way to affect her through these microscopics. Each of those expeditions would have been led by an admiral. Sounds like a purge. Like she was purging her political rivals. There are no employers. She's a member of the board. Probably a partner. You know what this lady needs. Some political advice. Even though she's a high-powered corporate executive and you're an amnesiac degenerate, you're pretty sure she needs to hear your opinion on this. Of all the things to be stuck looping, this has got to be one of the most witless. So it was a factor in her coming to Martinez in the first place. Interesting. Not be too rare an occurrence. Let's keep it that way, she means to add, but then doesn't. Aren't all. In case he goes down later, souring the entire portfolio. There may be a way to get her speaking about herself. At some later juncture, there's a slippery article in there. Who says and who argues they had not traveled the entire circumference of the Pericarnassian Super Isola. It was not merely in the West, it was everywhere. Even then, surrounding them. We have time for you to tell me why you need a reality lowdown. This is not going to happen with the lieutenant present, unless you can convince him to step aside. He's being sarcastic. Can you not detect that inimitable whiff of dissatisfaction and restlessness, that sense that the world is in need of dramatic, even violent, reordering? What do you smell? Absolute rubbish. Your politico-olfactory cortex doesn't deceive you. The smell is coming from that balcony over there, without a doubt. Your politico-olfactory cortex doesn't deceive you. The smell is coming from that balcony over there. Certainement. A precocious communist youth, a symbol of a kinder, more hopeful future. Now's your chance to establish contact with your revolutionary brothers and sisters. There it is again. There's a spectral scent haunting this pair, no doubt, and it smells like the lieutenant lacks your highly developed politico-olfactory cortex. The smell is undeniable, and it's coming from that balcony up there. There. Do you smell that? What the lieutenant thinks is irrelevant. Your politico-olfactory cortex is lighting up like a holiday display. The scent of communism is overwhelming, and it's coming right from that balcony over there. Years of turmoil, of hopes and dreams, ground beneath the inexorable tides of capital. It's true, some of them are known to turn the entire thing into a happening. There must be an economic reason for this. Translation. We're not going anywhere right now. Shot down. I've nothing to add. He means caviar socialists. Where were we? What a joyous way of putting it. He just fluffs it up. If you want to expose him, get straight to the point. If you start japing about old age, it's never gonna happen. No time to bring him in. Just keep your eyes on the prize and ignore him. Good. Rene's on board too. Time to take back the streets. Right-wing populism. Here we come. Too late. Daddy's already fighting the bad fight. Make it stick. This right here is political. You really do. Now, unleash the fury. All right, this is how we're gonna do it. Sorry, but at this point, all that's left to do is beg and hope for the best. Beg like you've never begged before. Say one of these fascist or communist things or fuck off. It's probably for the best. People don't like beggars. No, you're gonna starve to death. A man so principled about his sandwich calls for a principled approach. Time to get political. Teacup. Oh, because of the ceramic armor. Clever. Strange how old cunt sounds almost gentle when he says it now. The return of light. Shit. This is it. Tell him anything. Tell him you have more information. She doesn't seem to understand the severity of the situation. Wait, it's a good thing you have an anthropomorphic petrol bomb. It really is. But you have to soften him up first. Present an argument. No, wait. It's good you have that gun. It really is. Just soften him up first. Present an argument. No, it's okay. Soften him up and trust the others to attack if it comes to that. Make him talk. Present an argument. He does not actually think it's cool. If anything, the lieutenant feels sorry for the poor box. He's leaning in to inspect the layers of graffito that deface it. These kids have the vocabulary, but might be missing a brain. For all their nihilistic posturing, these young men are not lacking in youthful idealism. It's not a question. Don't get into it. Hate to admit it, but in a weird way, he's got a point. You didn't say that. Prospect must be a hierarchical term, probably in the lower end. Okay then, let's indulge in some intellectual exchange. These young men seem eager to share their beliefs. Throw him off his game. He doesn't know about the crime. Your time is better spent discussing politics. A whorehouse of shit. Yes. Why did you come here? It's unlikely they know anything about the murder. Keep the war crime jokes coming, and you'll end up on his good side. There's so much bitterness in his voice. It barely even registers as sarcasm. Well, if you phrase it like that, it doesn't sound too good. He doesn't think it was an excellent job at all. He's disappointed. It's clear these words mean a lot to him. Whoa! Sounds like you're about to open the gates of conversation. This man will literally talk your ear off if you let him wander off to memory lane. The bane of horses. Whoa! Man-loving? Is that even a word? He's just making excuses for the king's habits, isn't he? Thinking men have opinions on these things. Present one. She realizes she's about to criticize your work, or lack thereof. You didn't say she wrote it. You asked what it was doing there. The timidness is gone for a second. Something else takes its place. A readiness. Absolutely gone. Another comrade. Years of labor are pressing down on her shoulders. She deserves a hug for all the work she's done for mankind. Remember, about that what? Never ever say what. It's a trap. Never ever say what. Technically speaking, your trousers could be considered part of your work gear. This means she has insulted the police, the morning news, the news at noon, the evening news, midnight news and reruns. You have never been there. They don't need the law east of the river. I can talk you out of it, whatever it is. Again, is he actually serious right now? Yeah. Who in their right mind would judge a book by its cover? Lorry man, is he serious right now? The words come to you, clear as day. Nothing. Nothing is what he tried to say. Ha, yes, but he was there. Why was he there if you can't have an opinion? Now wait a moment. Let's get serious here. Not only disappointment, so personal. He displays a familiarity with the union's top brass. They let him be here. Understanding was a courtesy. But why such a courtesy? Okay, he didn't do the hanged man for them, but he's insinuating something. That is a euphemism. Just say nothing. What more is there to say? You've always got something to say. To no avail. To no avail. He is indeed very lucid at times. Are you sure about him being lucid? Maybe he's just affected by an extreme case of socialism. He's drunk, she thinks, and we all know it. Still, she's just trying to see it in a generous light. He's drunk, she thinks, and we all know it. Still, she's just trying to see it in a generous light. You're getting diverted. Push the gun. Only the gun matters. He's practically admitting to it. Dead fascists for fascists. Done his part. He's practically admitting to it. This is it. Shot him. Shot him. Say shot him, not killed him. There is something here for later. He knows his name. But don't let this break the pace now. Push forward. He sounds like he hasn't gotten to speak to another human being in a long time. Especially about politics. That's what you should do first. Go in straight. No euphemisms. He doesn't like those. What did I just tell you? Don't drop the ball now. This implies that he's thought about extorting her. There. He's already admitted to it. Just ask. Joyce. He means Joyce again. Those two took the cake. Seems like the answer was yes. He knew she knows. She was looking at the island, figuring it out, day by day, cigarette by cigarette. Joyce. He means Joyce. There is uncertainty in his phrasing. Crypto-fascist, probably. He cannot believe what he's saying too much. This looked very much like the murder weapon. It could be used against him to get a confession. In time, he would answer. But something happened. It's like his tape cut off suddenly. The time will come to win his trust, comrade. It is not now. You need to take care of the gun first. No, don't. This man does not subscribe to intellectual daydreams. The communism he mourns is a planetary force. We have entered a world where he said you shouldn't. It is the only world. He does not believe a police officer is genuinely revolutionary. It remains unclear what it is. He makes leaps he doesn't expect you to follow. Now hold on there. Rene, the royalist on the coast, said this looked very much like the murder weapon. It can be used against him later. If anyone stayed here, they'd need a generator. He has no idea what that means. Critical theory is making a strong comeback. After all, it's hard to get a good argument on when your partner gets shot and you're alone. Interesting. This means we have a critical theory-loving vagrant here. Interesting. Your incendiary remark has failed to provoke him. It's making a strong comeback. After all, a vulgar materialist reflection. Critical theory is making a strong comeback. After all, of the future, enemies of mankind, enemies of madness, lunacy, of the apocalypse taking place here. Do not be too eager to greet these enemies, black-hearted cavalier. They were also the enemies of Revachol. Nice political thoughts rush through your neocortex. There's a good vague way to ask where he stands on drug use. Professionally, I mean. When someone says they're not being sarcastic, it's usually a good sign that they're being very sarcastic. Okay, he's thinking, I can do this. Let's do this. Who'd want to sit on an anthill? There are no therapeutic benefits to. It's as if he knows what it stands for, but wants you to say it. It's pedagogical. Looks like this might take a while. Time to present a good topic for discussion. Aren't taxes almost non-existent in the Gossamer state that is Revachol? That sounds much better. Traditionalism. You like the sound of that? Good. We need tender men like you building gargantuan communism. Word on the street is it's going to be 10,000 times larger than any communism previously attempted by human beings. Is that right? This conversation isn't really about love. Try to keep up, okay? This is about the communism you've promised to build. Word on the street is it's going to be 10,000 times larger than any communism previously attempted. Is that true? You keep saying things like, down with the bourgeoisie, eat the rich, sodomize the landowners, impale all people who have more than 25 real in their pocket, literally murder all human beings regardless of their political beliefs. That kind of stuff. Okay, not in so many words, but don't deny it. You're about to rip off that mask of social democracy and reveal the monstrous seven-eyed lamb of global communism that will devour and masticate mankind. Everyone can see that. So tell me, do you have any questions before we fire up the big communism builder? Or do we get right down to it? Hey, psst, so what about all that communism you've promised to build? Word on the street is you've woken up from 1,000 years of slumber, promising to erect a version of communism many times greater than any attempted before. Is that true? Funky style. Very funky. So tell me, do you have any questions before we fire up the big communism builder? Or do we get right down to it? Failure. It's about failure. You alone, against every living thing, against every human alive. 800 trillion real in the hands of an impossibly well-organized ruling class. Towering city blocks of bankmen who have the ears of prime ministers. million-headed armies of nations, and the love of your own mother. Yes, abject failure. Total, irreversible defeat on all fronts. Absolutely vanquished, beaten, curb-stomped and pissed on. Until you came along. You will reverse the fortune of the workers of the world. You, against the atom, the charm and the spin, where the whole world failed. Matter failed to bend to human will. Human will failed to get out of bed and tie its laces. You alone, single-handedly, will rebuild the dreams of the working class. You are the last communist. Now get to work, comrade. Of course you do. You are failure. You are communism. Absolutely vanquished, beaten, curb-stomped, shat on. While everyone else is out partying, having a callous laugh, you will reverse the fortune of the workers of the world. Very well. I guess no one will build communism then. Tell the working man it's over, unless anyone has objections. Anyone? Anyone else? There's no one? Yes, you. Word on the street is you're ready to start building communism again. Oh yeah. Get the firing squads and the animal wagons ready. There's no one. Okay then, lie down and let the water carry you downstream. Too late to back out now. You can't make an omelette without breaking a few million eggs. Oh yes, the mask of ambivalence. Don't deny it. You're about to rip it off and reveal the monstrous seven-eyed lamb of global communism that will devour and masticate mankind. Psst. Hey. You, yes, you're ready to start building communism again. You've built it before. They've built it before. Hasn't really worked out yet. But neither has love. Should we just stop building love, too? And if not, lives aren't that important anyway, including yours. There are billions of them being lived. All right, here we go. This is an illegal tribunal. Their employer would never sanction this. Who's the commanding officer? Take your pick. International something. International law. Okay, it's not much. But he's thinking about something else. And his hand is off the gun. This did something. So you just stand there. This is bad. Very bad. Do or say something now. Don't say it. But now you stood there scratching your ass for 1.5 seconds. You think this helps things? Easy now. Tell them these men didn't do it. There's a peaceful way out. Easy now. Easy. Just tell them these men didn't do it. There's a peaceful way out. That doesn't sound good. You need to change the topic now, or there will be another shot. For God's sake, tell them the Hardys didn't do it. Present a case. You're not going to get anything out of this guy. He's too drunk. He says it like it's obviously your name. Like you call someone Billy Brunel or leader of the 4th Street Gang. Picking the right praise to give is just as important as picking the right critique. People shape themselves according to any and all feedback they get. In this way, you and your motor carriage have a lot in common. As you've already determined, the actual number is just over 200. But what's a little embellishment between friends? As you've already determined, the actual number is 216. But what's a little embellishment between friends? All right, politics time. Let's react. The secrets of understanding the tongues of children have been lost to you a long time ago. Wow, so intellectually stimulating. They must mean a human being on that island, but it's cut off, hasn't been there herself. Who has then? A phenomenon that the spectral hand theory of the market fails to account for. She sounds incredulous about the niceness of the idea, and those members have a vote. When electing the head of the local chapter, she knew you were one when you took her to Land's End. Why does she care about the waves so much? That's odd. Is she actually impressed? Of course. Question time. Coach means the expression. All right. Major choice moment. You only get to ask one thing. It would be weird to say them all. Choose wisely. You just want to go for a walk. What kind of a monster doesn't want to go for a walk? Walks are innocent. Nothing creepy, strange, or out there. Keep it eerie and simple. That's exactly what I meant. Incredibly creepy. She means men. Keep it professional, man. Don't make it sound like you're hitting on her. There. You need to make your case now. The floor is all yours. He prepared it well. Not bad, Kuno. Could be a little shorter, though. You may want to rethink your strategy of letting a 12-year-old present your case. Get the kid in line. You could use his help here. You should yell something. Ha! Put the best proof forth. As solid as you've got. Damn it. Not that jacket. The one you got for the doom spiral. Forget it. It's not worth the effort. That's it. The argument is lost. It's so much better if he does this. 1,000,000 times better. Yes, let's let the big boys talk. Now you make your case. Now is the time. Now or never. For Revachol. For the planetary proletariat. For the Revachol citizens' militia. A blue forget-me-not in the grey sky. For revenge. In other words, he's heard enough about this. This truly came as a surprise to him. Not a bad one. But he's at a loss. He's really considering it. The farce needs to end. Everyone sees that. Whatever this is, it is completely unimportant compared to what you've just seen. Despite all that you've done, the deserter, the phasmid, the case, good idea. It doesn't look like he thinks you're in a position to correct him on the shitkid issue. He's got a very, very solid case there. Actually, I've been trying to find a good moment to tell you. Yes, you often sound like a brutal idiot. Listen to yourself. You sound like a brutal idiot, no matter what I do. Meaning, you forgot both who you are and the definitions of money, Isola, Pell, and so on. The scene is making even him feel as though he has to justify your actions, as if having your badge and gun are natural states, not achievements. This is so unfair. He knows you have the gun, and still he's punishing you. He was too sarcastic for you to realize who he was. You may have accidentally admitted to losing it just now. If you investigated further, you or Kim would have more to say. But you didn't, so here we are. If you investigated further, you would have more to say. But you didn't, so here we are. Maybe you've deserved it. Does he actually know you? Or is he just shopkeep friendly? Keep him talking. She's being evasive. She knows something. She is not impressed by a cop running errands for a local bigwig. Not at all. In her mind, the union is right-wing because Everard is fat. It's that simple, and there's no changing it. Oh, trying to keep only one type of people around you is suddenly incestuous? Gary, a question for an answer, huh? The answer must be really obvious. He gave you a question for an answer. Must mean the answer's obvious. What he means is, working on the case is taking a toll on you, and working with you is taking a toll on him. They were thoroughly conservative men. He realizes suddenly. Short means sincere in these things. Sounds like some conspiracy topic. You might be able to discuss it with him when the lieutenant isn't here. If you can remember it. Super solid argument, Gary. Can't argue with that. He pronounces Revachol with a hard K, unlike other people. He pronounces Revachol with a hard K, unlike other people. We would have to discuss. He wants to say, but decides against it. We would have to discuss. He wants to say, but decides against it. Since you've offered to help, it remains unclear what this has got to do with you seeing it, as he was inquiring before. He was just being defensive, if perhaps slightly less enjoyable. Their relationship transcends Gary's politics. It must, to work. Plus, a guy like Morell knows a thing or two about being on the fringes himself, though his fringes are different. He makes it a real point here to sound falsifiable. She's engaging in a well-known self-deception called motivated reasoning. You should correct them. The way he said the word phasmid made it sound full of mystery. This is a very special word for him indeed. That's sarcasm. He takes no pleasure from your appearance. It's clear that his obsession with the phasmid is driven by something more than the pure pursuit of scientific advancement. That's just something people tell themselves when they fail. If it's more cryptid-related business you want to discuss, you'll have time for that later too. In other words, the committee only knows what it wants to know. Are you just going to let him get away with these generalities and euphemisms? Tranquilo, below? Let's not get into this. You can't argue with someone who uses words like tranquilo, below. You feel like there's something you could say here. If only you really knew what was going on. You feel like there's something you could say here. If only you really knew what was going on. He's speaking figuratively. He means he's not in Martinez in his official capacity. What he means is, he has been trying to meet up with you for 2 days, but you have been otherwise occupied. This man is doing you a professional courtesy. He knows you haven't talked to the proprietor about whatever it was you were supposed to talk to him about. It's impossible to tell whether he's serious or joking. There is no gift. It must be repeated. There is no gift. It is meant as obvious sarcasm. Do not ask what the gift is. The weary tone is the surest indicator that the lieutenant is being sarcastic. He's about to say it's impossible. The chaise électrique? Perhaps you did it for the Union. Your political beliefs gave you the strength and courage to take on such a formidable opponent. Perhaps you did it for the Union. Your political beliefs inspired this extreme act of violence. The lieutenant is pretty sure self-care is just a euphemism for nihilistic binge drinking. The lieutenant is pretty sure style is just a euphemism for nihilistic binge drinking. Is this a strike then? Or the first shots in a workers' coup? You feel something rising through you, a familiar feeling, an opinion taking form. He's having trouble processing it, believing it even. Perhaps I was overprotective, is what's insinuated. A point of pride to him. Yeah, damage. He means damage. But what sort of ideological picture do these smells paint? Tough to say. Strange. You're not getting any strong ideological whiffs from the lieutenant. He's sincere. He likes the audacity of it. Meaning, buying is voting. I don't know. Still looks like there's a lot of hustling going on. Maybe she's wrong. Also, but they still have cops. There's a touch of awe in the way she enunciates the creature's name. She's trying to avoid the foreigner's part. This is because she's a woman. She may be lying to you. I don't know. Still looks like there's a lot of hustling going on. Maybe she's wrong. Also, but they still have cops, meaning buying is voting. Answering a question with a question, for example. Defensive isn't her usual style. A waste of time, meaning you're not gonna get more out of me. They're avoiding having to answer this question. Yes, of course. Be polite with the suspects, but having Everard back you up like that did seem to have some effect. Yes, but that just sends everyone else to Jamrock, doesn't it? So much bluster to hide the fact that they're uncomfortable with you having this info. That was an unsure phrasing. I think he meant a can of whoop-ass. Us kids? That must have been ages ago. She was better then. Must be a local saying. It appears his whole enthusiasm is sarcastic. He probably means they've been mourning their lost friends. He said, thank you. Against the doom, it's implied. You know, there might be other places to sleep on this coast. You'll find one eventually. It seems a little callous, doesn't it? Something stirs in you. Too late. You just did. Okay then. Maybe you're callous yourself. Prod at him and find out. You need to approach this situation logically. Ask him why he has the PA system installed if you can't use it. Play it calm. This man needs to understand you need a drink to help the community deal with police stuff. He's almost completely forgotten what this began with. Everything is political. It's not actually about that. But he liked it. Have they not been telling you you're a cop? He smiles until he realizes his comeback wasn't very good. Then he frowns again. Ask him about the body's location before asking if he killed him. People give up information in the more innocuous questions, which you can later use in the more sinister ones, not vice versa. He's shaken. Barter now and he'll cave in. This is it. He said they hoisted him up on a tree. Who is this they, if he doesn't know? I'm pretty sure he asked you a question. That fucker wasn't aimed at you. It was at her. Yeah. Underdose isn't an actual word. No, they're not. And you're not itching for any bumps. Don't betray your inexplicable feminist ideals for cheap macho friend points. You don't have to say everything out loud. Just mix and match. He's desperately trying to offer a counter-narrative. There is none. He does not like that phrasing. Neither do I. Calm. Normal. Try to forget this little hiccup. Evidence. Show them you have it. It doesn't have to be conclusive. You had something other than the bizarre vision too, right? You better have something, because this didn't work. You should have kept pushing if you had something. All 7 together. They're diluting responsibility. It's an anti-arrest tactic. This isn't something he came up with on the spot. It's his standard reasoning, a product of many years of being Titus Hardy. That there's any question who's the leader. That's how he would have ended it. Titus won't let him. From rape, to harassment, to threats of violence. Why the strange de-escalation? Seems like they don't want to talk about that rape Titus mentioned. Why not? This is a serious allegation. Make them talk about it. He doesn't actually want to hurt you. There's an easy way out of this. A self-deprecating joke. A trick question. Don't let her lead the conversation. He killed the guy for stepping out of line? What? Is Mr. Titus Hardy here a fascist? No, sir. He is not. Get to the bottom of it. Ask again. This is a diversion. Stay on track. When she's angry, she emphasizes the S. It gives her voice a strangely hypnotic quality. Her lips barely move as she speaks. There's a lot of questions. If you ask them now, they'll just keep bringing up the tape. Listen to it, and they'll have nothing to hide behind. It's hard to tell whether he's sarcastic or sincere. But if you had to guess, you would say the lieutenant is being sarcastic. Whackathon? Shit show? Pity party? What does one talk about with a fellow officer? Behind his squinting eyes, dominoes are falling. Fast. It's all beginning to make sense to him now. You're going to have to be way more blunt here. Eugene wants a woman on the team so they can do their job. That must be hard. Half of Martinez is female. Just don't contradict yourself. If it doesn't sound like Ruby did it, maybe keep it to yourself. Organized crime. Down in Jamrock, probably. He's not being too forthcoming. This is not a surprise. He must be referencing some past case of theirs. Why does Puzzleface get to not melt down? You and I melted down like crazy. Remember? Say something. If you say something, you can jolt out of the stupor. Just one sentence. Here we go. Right. That's the second one now who's trying to flee you. That there is a form of severe sarcasm. And he's not actually a nurse, as if waiting for some kind of reaction or response. Something to click. It's not happening though. Who is this guy? Yeah, it's still irony. You may not know them, but they seem to know exactly who you are. Wait, no. Something about this bunch doesn't smell right. They are, but they don't seem too keen to talk with you. do they? Besides, you're pretty sure they consider themselves social democrats. You're a horrible gunless cop. This is all because you don't have a gun. You're never going to convince anyone without a gun. Clausia is playing them like a fiddle. Tell them how bad they got played, and they'll tell you the truth. There are many ways to go about it. All of them really good. You keep failing because you haven't failed enough times. You just need to go over and over and over this. I don't know what went wrong the last time. You have so many good ideas here. Make them all see they're puppets on a string. Oh, you don't like these arguments? Let's see you come up with your own then. Come on, everyone's waiting. Where are they? Those are the other guys. My shit is solid gold. You can trust me. That's right. Titus is ready to break. You've come too far not to trust me now, pussy boy. I do not understand. This fiddle play totally fell apart. The concept was solid, but the delivery tragically off. You sounded like a madman, not a cop. Just remember, it's about more than Clausia. It's about these men and Martinez, their district, their responsibility. He'll get it. Go on. So you put the gun in your mouth for the other guy. Couldn't even get it in your hand for me. This is bullshit. We'll never convince them without a gun. Convince Titus he's being manipulated. You should know by now. Titus Hardy will never falter. Fair enough. I was just going to make it up on the way. Here comes the other good ideas. What? What does that mean? You caught the leader off guard. Now strike. That's it. That's the weak one. You flushed him out. Now go in for the, he's onto you. He knows what you're trying to do. Girls plural. There's another girl. 2 of them. Take note of this. They'll probably say more about her later. He means they'd been fucking. You're in. He's all yours. Questions. Yes. No more small talk. A story that fits the occasion, of course. I invented a wonderful allegory for all this. I do not understand. They're just stupid, probably. Too stupid to understand the arguments. Maybe the lieutenant could do it for you. No, there's no way off. The carousel is spinning. Okay then, your fault. You were one cock carousel away from breaking the case. But okay, guess you don't need my help. I don't understand what happened. Why did you say that? I didn't tell you to say that. Put the fiddle down and never go off script like that again. This man would rather live in a fantasy world where he isn't a complete loser. You need to be more forceful the next time. Oh, you want more good options? Here we go. So good. Good. You got his attention. Now reward it with a metaphor. These working class oafs don't know how to talk about feelings. You shouldn't have opened up to them. Or anyone. Why did you say she's manipulating you? She's manipulating them. Remember? I didn't tell you to say that. Who told him that filthy lie? No, don't listen to him. This is gold stuff. Now let's get didactic. He's all bemused skepticism. He doesn't actually care what you want with his friend. Wow, really? A political moment? Now, this didn't change her opinion of you. The tone of the statement is so matter-of-fact. It's as though he were talking about picking up a morning newspaper on his daily walk around the block. It sincerely amuses him how hard these guys typecast themselves. The way the last word is emphasized suggests a veiled threat to your person. He's wrong. What does he even know? He's not saying Kuno. He's saying I. And not calling you a or a pig? Is he ill or something? He's saying I now, and not calling you a or a pig. Is he ill or something? Sounds like he's all right after all. At least they're interesting. Each one has a process just like yours, running in the space between their ears, full of secrets. For the working class, this bastard isn't even listening to you. No, they would be here if they were truly worried. That means he hasn't seen them around while you were out. They're not really worried about you. If they were, wouldn't they be here? Sorry, rhetorical flair. He does not actually welcome the return of the whores. He's wrong. By the way, the lieutenant does not actually believe you will be spiritually reimbursed for letting her escape. You just have to live with it. He did not expect you both to survive once you stepped between those two armies. In that case, doesn't life get hard because we go on? It's impossible to say whether she's being sarcastic or really means it. She doesn't actually think it's all that extraordinary. She remains unconvinced. There is little condescension in his phrasing. More measured curiosity. They're not mole people. They're your comrades in the eternal class struggle. It's your task to find and join them. Possibly. If you have been, it's only because you're a double agent acting in furtherance of your long-term objectives. Just between us, you may want to lay off this grind up the bourgeoisie stuff. It's a bit off-putting, even to fellow communists. Let your nose guide you, detective. Despite all the thinking you've been doing, only 0.0001% of communism has been built. It's too great a task to undertake alone. You're going to have to get organized. Yes, fortunately, communists are known to have a very distinct smell. No, we meant your nose, as in that swollen muck detector in the center of your face. It just happens to be perfectly calibrated for sensing communists. That's the spirit, comrade. First, you'll have to locate the remaining communists in Martinez. When you get near to someone with revolutionary potential, your nose will give you the signal to establish contact. Failure. It's not stupid. It's the greatest endeavor in the history of human civilization. Good luck explaining that to the tribunal of revolutionary retribution. That's why you're perfect for the job. No one's got a better nose for failure than you, detective. It's a smell you know all too well. Simultaneously repulsive and yet darkly appealing. Musty with a sharp tang, but also a remnant of lost sweetness. Like a rotting mango that's been swaddled in a coat from your grandfather's attic. People sometimes complain there are no real communists left in Martinez, but you can smell their presence. They're out there, waiting for you to join them. Your level of personal upkeep is irrelevant. All that matters is your commitment to building the world republic. You'll discuss the monumental world historical task that lies before you. You'll engage in rigorous and spirited debates about Mazovian theory and practice. But mostly, you'll probably complain about other communists. Not at all. Complaining about other communists is one of the most important parts of being a communist. Here we go. Wake, brave worker, 'tis no time for bed. Fight till there's no slaves below, and no masters o'erhead. The condition of your paperwork is irrelevant. All that matters is your commitment to building the world republic. You must seek out your revolutionary brothers and sisters. Find out how much communism they've built. Then, together, maybe you'll be able to build as much as 0.0002% of communism. It's good that your personal business is in order, but we're talking about political matters of world historical import here. Regardless, what's past is past. You need to look forward to the work of building communism for all, but it won't be easy. Decades of persecution by coalition authorities have driven the remaining communists of Martinez underground. Rise and shine, comrade. It's time to get to work. And by longing, you meant blatantly racist, right? That is not a saying. It makes no sense. In other words, it must be diffused across the entire bureaucracy so that no one can ever truly say who is responsible for what. You should have gloated. Lit, a phrase almost synonymous with the Insulindian pinball scene. Any pinball scene, really. So she thinks, at least partly, that this return will feature a self-governing Revachol. She has already placed her bets. She says it quickly, like she's said it 100 times, to herself, to get used to the idea. This is good. Clear the air first, between you two. Then move on to questions. Shush, I can't hear what she's saying. It's not one of respect. You may want to add a clever retort to this one. If they want to kill me, they'll kill me. If they want to toy with me, they will. She's come to this conclusion weeks ago. He's thinking, are we done here? Or who, me? The lady is saintly. Oh, she sucks on the cigarette most elegantly. Stop staring. You look mentally handicapped. She's filling dead air. Can't stand the silence. Take it easy. Start at the top. Choose at the bottom. It's how we've always done it. No rush. Yes. Start at the top. Choose at the bottom. It's how we've always done it. No rush. She purposefully misrepresented information crucial to the case. Thankfully, it's implied, another innocent tradition bulldozed by the march of ethical progress. The march of ethical progress continues. She just admitted to being on familiar terms with hell. A rough life, certainly. This is by far not the only reason she's here, and she isn't really hiding it either. This is by far not the only reason she's here. She isn't overtly hiding it either. Question avoided. Let's conclude that she has admirers. Plenty of them. It's hard to tell if she means it in earnest or as a joke. Then, doesn't life get hard because we go on? It's impossible to say whether she's being sarcastic or really means it. That is correct. And omissions too. By they, she means the Hardy Boys. Rapeable. What an unfortunate choice of words. Does she really mean that some people are more spicier? Of course, rape's nothing but a plot device for these guys to throw around as they wish. The wording, the verbal eye roll. She's almost disgusted with the platitude you served up. No love for Mother Araignée. But wasn't he a soldier? This could be worth pursuing. What is this? An interrogation? You didn't tell her this was going to be an interrogation. Is she avoiding anything? Technically not. She doesn't care. If anything, she sounds amused. She's buying time to formulate the best answer. And not only that, and he doesn't even want to think about it. This isn't just another boast. He doesn't want to think about it. This isn't just another boast. He'd rather die than work with the justice system. She puts extra stress onto that word, expecting it will make you uncomfortable. Got told by a 12-year-old. Here's a tip for the future. If you want to win an argument, wait for my sign. Don't just go barging in. The usual being, have you seen anything out of the ordinary? Or have you seen anything suspicious? Looks like you're a fagari now. Whatever that means. The suspicious question doesn't really work in antagonistic situations. Just trust me. He'll sympathize if he realizes you could actually lose your job over this. Don't pay attention to him. Just keep telling your sad story. By killing in his territory, someone has openly challenged Kuno. It's in his best interest to put them in their place. Kuno's a poor kid from a poor neighborhood. Say your job is on the line. He'll sympathize. He doesn't know what that means. Talking about civics and shit didn't make this any easier. Can't you see his hair is red? The color of social democracy? Not all of them. Social democrats have their hearts in the right place. Some of them can be valuable allies if you turn them. No, it's not weakness. It's sincere. Do not confuse sincerity with weakness. Say it. Trust me. You just haven't done it long enough. You need to do it even longer. See, I'm not trying to humiliate you. I just don't know any better. Say it. No, it's the face blob who's trying to humiliate you. Why does he speak like that? Why can't he speak like a normal person? He just has no heart and no sympathy for the cause. It's not your fault. Yes, he means the doomed commercial area. This is what he sometimes does when things get tense. So he knows locusts are bugs. You got him. Now convince him to leave the cryptozoologist's traps alone. He recognizes the name. Did he just say I? Kuno usually calls Kuno, Kuno. Yeah, her. Moose piss is probably alcohol. Kuno means gram. You can guess. Kuno window. She must repeat it. Use every chance to confirm that version of reality. Don't expect to talk this one down. There are some situations your mouth can't get you out of. Change your plan. You can't let that happen. It will make things harder down the line. You may end up missing crucial information. You can't let that happen. It will make things harder down the line. You may end up missing crucial information. A material offering is implied. He wants stuff. Only stuff can make it okay again. What the fuck are you talking about? Those are barely words. Anyway, this didn't work. The language these kids are using, pure unfettered id. There will be no reasoning with those creatures. Money debt doesn't mean anything. He's just saying words. You're not in his debt. You found a real nice button to push. Turned the tables on him. You need to act decisively. It's Kuno. Use Kuno words. A new mode of government. Rule by Kuno. Outside of this backyard, it will never exist. He's not going to let you steal his thunder twice. Note to self. This would be a good question to ask Titus. Where's the eighth man? That's because he doesn't want to bring up the messy question of your initials. It's not spelled out explicitly, but the lieutenant fears a tear is forming between the liberal moralist establishment of Revachol and her populist citizenry. This populist force, a potpourri of far right and left, is exemplified in the Débardeurs Union. Their strike, if allowed to escalate into violence, adds to the growing sense of civil war in the city. He's extremely neutral, even in his notes. But avoiding this escalation is Kim's primary concern when dealing with the situation in Martinez. What was that about processing, then? Weren't they supposed to take care of the boots? Why don't they help? Clearly, Kuno would like to interject something here, but there's not enough for him to hold on to. If you can't experiment, how will you learn? You really need to learn the difference, buddy. This is embarrassing. No, of course not. This time we shoot someone else. No, of course not. This time we shoot someone else. To the gates. Let's negotiate. To the gates. But we negotiate. He doesn't actually think the challenge is unique. He thinks it's frustrating, annoying, and harder than he thought. He doesn't mean it in earnest. It's a cruel jest. He's going to say as much too. Just you wait. Wow, went off script there. Getting your ass handed to you. You shouldn't go picking fights if your rhetorical faculties haven't suggested it. He's being sarcastic. Do not ask what the remote viewer's division is.